This episode contains detailed descriptions of violence. Please take care while listening.
Salute. Hey everyone, it's me, Cult Empire. In case you didn't know, you found me by accident, or you're expecting someone else.
That voice belongs to Robert Bever. He's 16 years old and is speaking directly into a camera in a video that was posted on YouTube February 5th, 2013. 10 days later, another video was uploaded.
All right, the new vlog. I got my video uploading, have to cut out certain parts of it.
They're filmed in a similar style. Michael Bever appears in a video too. That one looks like it was filmed in the bedroom that the brothers shared. There's no dialogue, just a skit set to music. Michael sits at a desk with a computer on top of it. 2 years and nearly 4 months later, he'd find himself having to explain to investigators where to find that same computer.
Where are your two laptops?
Robert's is in his closet, mine is on the desk.
Do you guys share a room?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have two. Do you use both of them, or one's an old one and
One's an old one.
Of the 4 videos uploaded to this YouTube account, none of them are violent. But investigators would learn that Robert and his brother were planning on filming and posting a very different and deeply disturbing video.
And I'd give a thumbs up and he'd sit down and I'd turn to my brother and be like, "So Mike, why did we do this?" He would talk about why he thought we did it. We'd compare thoughts, and I didn't really have it planned. I just knew it was gonna be good. Because whenever me and my brother sat down, we could brainstorm.
Did you think so this video would become like kind of a pop culture thing and people would want to see it?
Yeah, we were planning on making 2 versions actually.
Okay.
So like a G-rated and a...
Yeah, because I still wanted people to see it.
We can't change what happened inside of that home, but we can try to understand the forces that shaped it.
From my understanding at this point, there was not a lot of external factors that would lead anyone to believe that there's some type of something we need to look at here.
You've been speaking with many people in this relatively quiet neighborhood.
That's right, and the big question for them is why they would see this family down there in the backyard but say this came with no warning.
But were the warning signs actually there? No one seemed to really know the Bever family. Was that a warning sign in itself? One neighbor, Julie Walls, remembered a scene that stuck with her.
I did see a young man walking around the block, and he looked as though he were distressed. And I remember driving past him thinking, oh my,
There's no way of knowing who she saw. But questions like, did anyone notice something? Still linger, even for the first officer who responded that night.
It's all speculation, and I don't want to cast any ill will on the dead, but I would like to think that the parents would have seen some red flags, some isolation, some what are you all looking at, what are you reading, what are you surfing on the internet. It's very hard for me to believe that two, one barely an adult, the other, close to being an adult, could plan this out over a period of time and not have some red flags that the people living in the house would say, they're not acting normal, they're doing this, So I think what bothers me about this case is that I feel like it could have been avoided if there was some notes taken to what their behavior was. But I didn't live in the house, so I can't say that was present.
Looking at how isolation, the online world, and mental health intersected isn't about blame. It's about learning where danger can grow, including in the online spaces where violent fantasies can quietly take root. I'm Brenna Rose, and this is Massacre on Magnolia Court, Episode 6, Red Flags. I stumbled upon it while we were setting up for the interview at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Robert was already sitting at a table when we arrived. I'd come prepared by printing out a screenshot of a YouTube channel that I thought was his. I sat down across from him and then slid the piece of paper toward him.
This is your YouTube page, right?
Yeah, that's one of them.
You have another one?
I do.
Is it public?
Yes. It's called That Creepy Voice. It's not actually me in any of the videos. It's just these funny videos I edited together from like movie trailers and stuff.
Did you have any other social media?
I did. I had over 50 Facebook accounts.
Over 50 Facebook accounts. How did you update over 50 Facebook accounts? That takes a lot of work. You can hear me almost laugh, a reflex awkward and immediate, because even though I'd spent days preparing for that interview, I simply did not know how to process what he just said. Can you explain that to me, why you had 50 Facebook accounts?
I kept splitting off into different people. It started out as I tried to get into a group on Facebook and I was rejected. I was too young. Everybody else in the group was adults and they thought I was annoying and they made sure I knew it. I made an alternate account so I could sneak around just because I wanted these people to like me.
Listening to him explain it, it starts to feel like these were not just extra accounts.
I made an alternate account so that I could try again, and I didn't show my face, and I was accepted for a while until they figured out who I was, and then they just had the worst things to say about me. And so I found if I made a mistake or I made somebody unhappy, or eventually it got to the point where I was just dreaming of alternate lives, I'd make a new Facebook account.
Each one, a new name, a new story, a new identity. And for context on how investigators interpreted Robert's online activity, I spoke with Tulsa County District Attorney Steve Kunzweiler. He told me he had 50 Facebook pages and he was choosing that he was going to log in and be this person today and then that person.
Wow. So that's new. I know we had a couple of his accounts that we were able to pull up 10 years ago. I'm sure over time, I would be very much interested what all his 50 accounts were. I'd love to be able to find that out. That would be helpful to anybody. I have some doubts that he had multiple. He might have had 2 or 3 or 4. That's what it seemed like to us. If he had more, then he didn't share that with us.
And Michael's appeal suggests that Robert may have had even more accounts. Documents state, to escape his reality, Robert enjoyed role-playing online, where he had at least 100 different characters. He told me that he was in Star Wars role-play groups, but he was also having dark discussions, according to his interview with investigators in 2015.
Only in kind of a casual, joking way. I hate people, I wish everyone would die sort of way online. But I don't really like talking to people online because they like to pretend to be people that they weren't. It's like, oh, I bet you're just some fat slob on the other side of that screen who's never going to kill anyone.
And a decade later, he offers a much darker interpretation of the people he interacted with online.
There were some very concerning people that I met in those groups. Guys that I would have not been surprised if they either wanted to be serial killers or they were serial killers. Very strange people in those groups.
Listening to Robert talk about those online groups, the people he believed were fantasizing about violence, is unsettling. It also highlights a bigger issue of how vulnerable teens can be online. Steve Kunzweiler says that concern has only grown stronger over time.
If they're spending more time in a room on a computer that's not job related, then they need to get outside and see some sunshine and interact with other people. We are social beings by nature, and the fact that we are creating a system where you can get the answers to every single question through AI is a problem. If I were a parent raising a kid today, I would be deathly afraid of the internet.
According to the FBI, criminals are increasingly using gaming platforms, social media, and encrypted messaging apps to groom or exploit minors, often beginning with something as simple as a friend request or a DM. And officials say these offenders are patient and strategic, looking for teens who are isolated or might be online late at night, building trust over time before escalating.
That's probably the lesson I would share with every parent out there, is that evil does exist in this world, and you had better be paying attention to your kids and making sure they know where the warning signs exist, because if you're not, your kids could fall prey to a predator like Robert Bever. If he had not slaughtered his family, he would have gone out and done things to other people. If Michael had not slaughtered his family, Michael would have been out there killing other people. These people do exist in our culture, and that evil needs to be addressed or brought to the attention of anybody in law enforcement, so we can start focusing on those people. They operate on a different wavelength than everybody else.
So I asked Robert how he understood the idea of warning signs, the ones that he thinks were present in his own life. He told me that one of the reasons why he agreed to do this interview was to talk about them. It's important to remember, though, that these are his reflections.
You're going to allow your kid to be on the internet. Make sure you know how many accounts they have. It's gonna scare the S out of them for you to tell them that you're watching everything that they type on their computer, but that's exactly what parents have to do if they're concerned about their kid. If there's signs like they start out, acting borderline, really emotional, not really stable, they have trouble socially, they just broke up or something, and they're acting all sulky. But then if it gets beyond that into like they're starting to show aggression, they're starting to, if they're the kind of kid who gets high listening to music, if they're listening to songs that, I don't know how to describe it. There are certain songs, like, have you ever heard, does anybody in this room listen to porn? Do you know the song Oildale? Thumbing through the pages of my fantasies. Probably my fantasies of killing his parents.
There was one warning sign that he didn't mention: the stockpiling of body armor and knives. Both brothers brought that up to investigators back in 2015.
How long have you had the body armor?
Body armor? Robert's had his probably since the start of the ago, and we've been buying it. Well, he's been buying it.
Was it shipped to the house?
Yeah.
Do your parents know? I mean, did they know it?
They knew he had bulletproof vests. They always thought that was a little loud, but they didn't say anything about it. He had a soft Kevlar vest, a heavy, it's like a metal plated vest,
Okay.
level 3A and a level 3A. He had a helmet, bulletproof helmet, a bulletproof DEA mask, and leg guards.
According to court documents, Robert testified that he bought the body armor for himself to dress up in character for his role play and to be prepared for a zombie apocalypse. When I asked him about it, he told me he bought it for doomsday prepping.
I thought it was cool, and believe it or not, as stupid as it sounds, I felt safe when I wore it. I walked right up to my dad when I was wearing my bulletproof vest, and I told him, this is my life preservation rig. Nobody messes with me when I'm wearing this. And he just like...
Did he say anything?
No, he didn't.
So he didn't question why you bought the body armor?
No. And my mom didn't either at first until then I bought a helmet. And instead of coming in a box, it came wrapped in a trash bag, and some mom was like, your helmet is here. I bought like arm guards, all the stuff that I used that night and more.
What they understood, or what they might have overlooked, will never be fully known. Robert also referenced the violent movies that he watched. And as you hear him describe them, you might start to wonder how much of his understanding of violence came from what he saw on the screen.
I had grown up watching movies like, what was that? It was one of the Die Hard movies. There was this female antagonist that I really liked. She had like a samurai sword or something, and all she'd do was like slice them and they'd fall over dead. And that was kind of what I was expecting. I was sitting there watching Judge Dredd, not Judge Dredd, Sylvester Stallone, the Dredd for 2012. And it was just amping me up so badly. By the end of the movie, I was like, we have got to do something like this. We have got to be judge, jury, executioner on somebody.
Hearing Robert describe what was fueling him raises a question that goes beyond this case. When a parent hears language like that, fixation on violence, extreme thinking, how are they supposed to know what matters and what doesn't? To dig into that, I turned to Brandon Berryhill. He was the chief of police in Broken Arrow at the time of the Bever family murders. Today, he's an assistant professor at Northeastern State University. This is one of those cases that never really left him, one he's thought about as a police chief and later as an educator.
It's one of those things that once that happens, it's like you never thought it could happen here. It's like going off a cliff. It's like you can never get back to where it was before.
When I spoke to Robert, he gave us a big, long list of things that parents should look out for. He talked about music, movies. What are some of the warning signs that you think parents should really be paying attention to?
A lack of empathy. You know, kids that are not able to show feeling and emotion towards others. Kids that abuse animals. If something bad happens, you should be sad. If something great happens, you should be happy. And so those range of normal emotions are prevalent in every person. And I think if you're raising a child today and you feel like the child's not developing, you know, because at certain ages there's certain things kids should be able to do, and you know, having empathy and sympathy and showing, you know, emotions when they're appropriate is important. And I think if you as a parent had concerns, you should go to someone and talk with someone, because there are therapists that specialize in children. I don't think you can put it on music by itself or a genre of music. I don't think you can put it on movies. I don't think you can put it on games.
The FBI has posted a list of warning signs online, which I'll make sure to link in the episode notes. Some of those signs include sudden changes in behavior, mood, appearance, or sleeping habits. In many families, teachers, counselors, or coaches might notice when something shifts, but that wasn't the case for the Bevers. The subject of homeschooling is tricky to navigate. As I've looked into it, I've come to learn that there are many opportunities for homeschool children to socialize amongst themselves and take part in sporting leagues. But under Oklahoma law, homeschooling operates almost entirely on trust.
I hate to put kids in a category as far as, you know, homeschool, non-homeschool. I don't really think that's the issue. I think the issue is just isolation from community in general. All of our fail-safes that we have for mental health are really geared around spotting something in a situation, whether it's work or school or whatever kind of situation. You know, red flag comes up and you report it to somebody. Well, if you have people that are kind of like disconnected, those warning signs aren't really spotted.
So if you have a family member maybe that has withdrawn and is isolated and disconnected from the world, at what point should you be like, okay, this is something that maybe I should investigate this or take action?
If there's been a sudden change in behavior, that's a red flag. So if you're talking about a domestic situation, anytime you have someone that has a total change in shift in behavior or habits or whatever, that's when you probably should reach out and try to contact that person and talk to them to see kind of what's going on. Sometimes they do it on purpose, and sometimes it's they don't have control over that.
Isolation can hide a lot. But where's the line between ordinary teenage behavior and the early signs of something more serious? To understand that distinction, I spoke with forensic psychopathologist and social worker David McLeod.
At what age do people start to show signs that they might have a personality disorder?
So depending on what it is, it can set in pretty early. Right, but it changes over time. Wild mood swings, bouts of high levels of anxiety, hyperfixation, coupled with depressive symptoms, can be both some of the symptoms or clusters of symptoms with bipolar disorder or being a teenager. Right, like some of those things are actually natural hormonal responses to growing up.
So in other words, what looks concerning in one context may be developmentally normal in another, which makes it hard to recognize when something is truly wrong. And with that in mind, I want to play a portion of my interview with Robert where he describes his own teenage years.
When I was Michael's age, I was already thinking about killing my dad. And I didn't have any money And I tried to find the cheapest gun online I could find. And next thing I know, I'm looking at BB guns, trying to figure out how to kill my dad with a BB gun. And then I stopped. Because at 16, I had some self-control. I don't know what happened to me when I was 17 and 18.
Was 16 the first time that you started experiencing these thoughts, or did you have them much younger in childhood?
I've been labeled a psychopath. I'll just be completely open and honest about it. I've been diagnosed as antisocial personality disorder by a doctor in the mental health program. That's why I ultimately had to leave it, because they couldn't create a plan for me. When I was a kid, I had conduct disorder. One of the earliest things I remember doing that still shocks me today is I was mad at my mom, so I got a thumbtack and I put it in the middle of the floor in the kitchen for her to step on. I forgot about it and I stepped on it. And that's when I started believing in God and karma.
Robert describes that childhood moment as the beginning of his belief in God and karma, a way of understanding cause and consequence. Remember that. We'll come back to it in the next episode.
But homicidal thoughts, no. When I was 13, when I hit puberty, I started getting really depressed. I have a major depressive disorder too. And I was mostly thinking about suicide. I used to fantasize about my parents killing me, getting too angry and killing me over something stupid, and then they get in trouble for it, and I'm dead.
Robert brings up a few mental health conditions, none of which we can confirm without looking at his medical records.
Again, it goes back to when I was like 17. I started having these crazy flights of fancy where I'd be sitting in the car with my brothers and sisters waiting for my mom to come back out from the store. And I'm fantasizing about, what if somebody tried to carjack us? What if somebody tried to get into this vehicle right now? I'd kill them. And then again, there's that like path that I was taking where at first I was fantasizing about being some kind of hero, but it was too violent. And I didn't stay there. I kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Hearing Robert describe those thoughts, depression, suicidal fantasies, and the anger he says he felt as a teenager raises a hard question.
Do you think there were warning signs that Robert was clearly having some mental health issues, or was he able to hide some of this behavior?
My guess would be that there were absolutely warning signs, and they began to seriously escalate as he got closer to 18. If he's experiencing, say, schizophrenia or some of the, and even with other personality disorders like an antisocial personality disorder, there's a tipping point after puberty where the hormones of the body are different, things are rewiring and firing differently, and so that those symptoms can really escalate. I would assume that there were probably some significant warning signs early, but as parents, even if you care about another human being, when we don't want to see something, we can miss it for a long time. All of us are imperfect, and so we give each other grace, and sometimes more than we should. It wouldn't be uncommon, and I think it's well documented historically in cases like this that there should have been warning signs, but parents don't necessarily always get them.
Talking with experts has made something very apparent. Recognizing mental health concerns in a teenager is not simple. As layered and complex as all these warning signs were, they still don't answer the hardest question of all. Why?
When a domestic terrorist or mass murderer does what they do, their ultimate goal is respect out of fear.
What drove two brothers to kill their family? Next, on the final episode of Massacre on Magnolia Court.